Hi everyone, I'm Cliff Elgin and this is Sports Insight. Students love sports and they love to compete with their peers on school teams. But along with being skilled in their sport, all MCPS student athletes must also meet academic eligibility standards in order to practice and compete. And that's not always easy for busy high school students enrolled in rigorous math, science, foreign language, and social studies courses. So in this edition of Sports Insight, we take a look at the teamwork happening inside the school among athletic directors, coaches, teachers, and other students to support these student athletes.
Let's go!
High school students on athletic teams have long days at school in addition to their responsibilities at home. Athletics can challenge even the best students academically.
You wake up like 7 in the morning, you go to school for like 7 hours a day, then you have practice right after school, and then like by the time you get home, it's like 6, 7 o'clock, you be tired, you take a shower, and then it's like you don't feel like doing work. Just to manage all that, it's just hard to do.
Sometimes it's between our group of friends when they start saying like, I can't do this anymore, I have to give up, like I have work in the afternoon and then I have practice and then I have a game at 6 and I have no time to do my homework. And then we tell them like, you know what, we got you, we'll tell you exactly what happens in class.
Sometimes they just care too much about the sport and they forget the other. You know, I learned that you have to be balanced in everything. Community service and helping your community, in education, and, and in your sport.
For those new guys, just essentially what we're going to be doing is keeping tabs on you academically because
teachers, coaches, and support staff at school work year-round to remind students that academic achievement needs to be their top priority.
As a student athlete, you got to take care of your academics. Your first obligation to your team is to be academically eligible to continue to play on that team or to be able to try out for that team. And the county has the academic eligibility at 2.0 GPA with no more than 1 E, but colleges at the Division I level is moved up to 2.3, and we don't want to focus on the minimum. We're trying to get the kids like through the BDAP program and through different avenues of office hours for teachers. We want our kids to be at the Minds in Motion status, which is 3.25, and being a scholar athlete.
BDAP stands for Blue Devil Athletics Academic Progress, and it's a program that teachers and coaches at Springbrook High School adopted as another way to support student athletes. Every 2 weeks, student grades are reviewed. If grades are low or assignments have not been completed, the student is asked why and given a BDAP form. The student must then follow up directly with their classroom teacher.
We want to see the effort. We want to know that they're trying, that they have a goal, they have high standards for themselves, and they're trying to reach it. And this is the area that the teacher is going to fill out. So there's a spot for the student came in for help a number of times, they reassessed. We do have a student did nothing, which is a conversation starter. And that's an important box that if it's checked, then Chris and I can meet with the student and we can just talk to parents, coaches, and see, what can we do? Because if you're not doing anything to improve the grade, that's our concern.
I think it's a good thing because honestly, I know for some of my teammates that if there wasn't a BDAP, then it'd just be all basketball. But having my coaches being able to look at my grades, it keeps me on top. I want them to see I'm doing the best.
You always had to be eligible, but you couldn't have you can be eligible for 2.0 and have all C's, and colleges don't really like that on a person. You always wanted to have at least a B grade average, and with this BDAP form, it helps out a lot.
The participation is better. Our grades, way better.
At Watkins Mill High School, coaches in most sports work with their team members the entire school year. Academics and training go hand in hand. Football coach Michael Brown requires his team members to attend study groups every Tuesday during the off-season.
Well, the teachers have a responsibility for their students, all their students that obviously participate in their classes, but as a football program, we keep track of our football players as well. So it's a great kind of 1-2 combination to continue to hold the kids accountable. We have very good curriculum. We have great teachers. The support here, college tracks, the football program, things are on the turn at Watkins Mill for sure.
College Track is a nonprofit organization that opened at Watkins Mill High School about a year ago.
And we help juniors and seniors with the college application and financial aid processes. So we know there are a bunch of steps that sometimes they're hard for students to get through. We also help students with their help-seeking behavior. So when a student says, oh, my teacher gave me a D, we say, well, no, sounds like you're earning that grade, and what can you do to go to that teacher and ask how you can improve your grade? So it's kind of like being their parent, not only the parent that went to college, but the parent that wants them to succeed in every single aspect of life.
And students, especially team captains, will also intervene to encourage their teammates to get the help they need to stay eligible.
Academics always come first for me, and I just try to share that with them, that you can't go to college and play basketball if you don't have the academics. Like, it's impossible.
If we know that someone is failing, like, we'll be hard on that person to make sure that they go to their teacher like during lunch, to go get their grades up, go after school. If you have to miss practice to get your grades up, go ahead and do that, because it's student athletes first. We just want everyone to be the best they can on the field and also in school.
And joining us today is Mr. Reggie Spears, the now finishing up his 8th year athletic director at Watkins Mill, my alma mater. Go Wolverines. Reggie, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Cliff.
And also with us is a junior from Rockville High School, Lauren Jerome, and she's a star on the soccer pitch, and she's going to join us today and give us the students' aspect of this whole academic well-being with athletes as well. So Lauren, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so Reggie, I want to start with you, because now that you've been the athletic director, finishing up your 8th year, and I'm sure at Watkins Mill and around the county, we've sort of seen a change in the support we're even giving athletes today, because it's even more than just, say, 5, 10 years ago. We're really there as a whole school to really help these students.
I would say with the kids today, I guess the millennials, as a coaching staff, as administrative staff, we want to put as many supports out there, because we do not know, what the follow-up is at home or what the circumstances are. So instead of trying to meet each kid individually, we just want to have a blanket coverage. So with me and at Watkins Mill, we meet with the coaches regularly to go over some of the avenues that we can provide supports for our kids and let them know the different resources in the building. Today, and even dealing with my own kids that are in middle school, the follow-through, just asking the question, hey, are you doing okay in school? How are your grades? Some of those questions are not being asked to some of our students, and then it's too late, and it jeopardizes their academic eligibility.
And I think a point we need to make also, I think you're kind of touching on it, is we're going to provide supports, but the students also have to help meet us halfway.
They have to buy in.
There has to be something there. And I like what we saw in the video. Your football program, they mentioned they're meeting once a week to check in, correct?
Yeah, that is mandatory.
Right.
So the buy-in is kind of making them buy in. If you really are committed to football, this is part of the process. Your academics is part of this whole process of being involved in high school interscholastic sports, learning all the different, things that you need to know to become a successful adult through playing sports, all the different emotions, the social skills, how to react to different situations, and also interacting with your teachers, who 9 times out of 10 have coached before. So they know what they're doing. A 16-year-old, 15-year-old pretty much has their habits already formed. So what we need to do is just reinforce that, let them know how to get help, that we're here to help them. And these are the things that you have to do, because in the end result, everybody's going to feel better. You feel better when you know you got a high GPA. Yeah. Win or loss, you know that you're good to go. Hey, at least my grades are good. I can play again. But we do have a small portion of our kids that struggle, and you see the sad emotions when they cannot play or they're told that they're ineligible. So one is just making sure that they understand the requirements to be on the field, to be a student athlete, that academics is first, and that they have to get into a regimen and get into a routine, and it's just being committed. Just everything you need to do to be an athlete falls in line with that. So.
And Lauren, I want to get your perspective as our student expert today. And I know Rockville doesn't necessarily have a specific program, but talk about what you do with the soccer team and your friends, who most of them you said are involved in athletics.
Yeah.
How do you help each other?
A lot of times a lot of my friends who are athletes, we take generally the same classes. So if we know we have a big test coming or some homework assignment that we're not really clear on or we need help, we'll go to each other or go to the teacher together at lunch or after school, whatever we need. And if someone is having a harder time than others, maybe we'll meet outside of school and talk about what we need to study for before this game, before this practice, so we have time to manage everything.
I'm glad you just mentioned, because that was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
We saw in the piece, some of the athletes talking about, I'm waking up, I'm going to school, I'm going to practice, maybe I have to work, I have to take care of siblings. How important is time management in your day, especially in season?
Yeah, very important, because if you're not, well, first of all, if you're not eligible, if you're not able to manage your time, you're not going to be able to play. But when you're able to manage your time, everything becomes a lot easier in the routine that he was talking about earlier. Once you have a routine set and you know what has to be done, everything becomes simpler to fit everything into your day.
And Reggie, in the piece we talk about, I think most people know to be athletically and academically eligible, we need to carry 2.0, but really we want more than that. I know at Clarksville we talk about strive for 3.25. Is that really an emphasis that you're bringing to Watkins Mill as well? It's got to be more than just the 2.0.
It has to be more. We always say that the 2.0 is just the bare minimum.
Yeah.
If you want to be average, just complacent, then that's going to correlate over to the field. So we want them to strive better. And have, I guess, manageable goals. The curriculum and the rigor is there, and we know they have to deal with it. Lauren, I know you guys are taking classes, and I know it's a lot in your day. Probably a lot more back when I was in high school.
Yeah, a lot more than we were doing.
But, you break it down, these are the amount of hours I have in a day. How am I utilizing my time effectively? During my lunch period, am I goofing off with my friends, or could I go in and study, get a heads up on a quiz that I'm gonna have to take? Making those decisions. So just making the right choices and always keeping, your goals out front so that you're making your mark that you want to make, and then being comfortable, being able to meet your schedule, meet the demands of the team and the coaches, because you got to almost please everybody, and then you have a home life.
Yeah, let alone mom and dad at home.
And then you got, you have those parents too that they have their standard.
Now, Lauren, sometimes peer pressure is used as a bad word, but I think it can also be used as a good thing.
Definitely.
Do you see the peer pressure amongst all of your teammates
Yeah.
to succeed in the classroom and maybe even compete with each other in the classroom, let alone on the soccer field?
Yeah, a lot of my friend group, we take, like I said, some of the same academic classes, so you're not going to be upset or you're going to be disappointed in yourself if you don't do as well on a test or quiz as one of your friends, but that also turns competitive, and you're like, oh, well, if they can do that, then so can I. And maybe if you feel that way, you go and you ask, hey, what did you do, or what can I do better on this next one to maybe get up to their level?
And I'm going to come back to you in a second, but one of the things that I think is nice about high school is every incoming ninth grader is eligible in that fall sport. So everyone can play. And then so the academic eligibility kicks in after that first quarter. But I know I've heard you've already gone down to Wood Middle School and maybe started talking to some of the middle schoolers about the importance of both the academics and how it's paired with the athletics. Can you talk about that a little bit, just trying to stress that to them?
Yeah, so before middle school soccer season starts in the spring, for the last few years I've gone down and talked about high school soccer and sports in general, specifically eligibility and summer workouts and things like that. And what comes with eligibility is, for high school, classes become more rigorous, obviously, and so time management is something you have to figure out. And for something that was hard for me coming in was that since the level of academics elevated, I had to be able to go into my teachers and say, I need help. And sometimes that's hard for a ninth grader because new teachers, new environment. So that's something that I talk about because it's something that they're going to need to do sometime in their high school career.
And I think that's a great point to make to young kids, because I think it is hard for them to do, but what they're going to find is, wow, teachers will, if you ask for the help, we'll be more than happy to give you the help.
Definitely.
In fact, we like it when you guys ask us for help. So I think that's a great point that you're making out to the young ones. And for you to go down and say it means a lot more than if you or I are to go down, because we're just two old guys talking to them, and they're going to listen to you a lot more than they're going to listen to us.
Yeah.
I know, Clarkson, we have a specific program, and our grades just came out, and out of 364 athletes, we only had, I think, 6 that were ineligible from the third to the fourth quarter. So we're happy like that. And I'm sure you've seen probably the success at Watkins Mill ramp up with your focus. Go ahead.
With what Coach Brown is doing with the football team, and I go back to the football team because
that's the biggest team in
the school. That's the
school.
biggest team, but then again, that team tends to have some more at-risk students, you know, in terms of academics. And I know they probably won't get mad at me, but my female athletes do an amazing job.
Yeah.
I really don't have to worry about them too much.
That's not much of a secret. I think that's.
But you know, with my field hockey and lacrosse teams, I mean, they hold themselves accountable, and they know what they have to do to play on the field. You know, they don't accept C's.
Right.
So, but with football, I think the coaches just got together to take a group individually under their wing. And when we just ran the last report, out of 53 in the program, we only had like 4 that were ineligible. But the overall team GPA is a 2.8. So that is a big stride from years past. But at Watkins Mill, we make it upon the coaches to hone in academically, because we know if it doesn't come from them and they're not following through and being consistent, then that's when you're going to have the problems. It can't be anybody else's to own. So we train them, we give them the resources on how they can monitor, and then you got a coach that teaches in another class, hey, Joseph didn't do his work, he needs to do this test, and hey, we're gonna have to sit you down until you take care of this. You know what, you're failing a class right now. You have a 55%. You need to get this together or you can't play Friday night.
And really, it's the long-term goal. I know, Lauren, we're talking about your academics. I know they're in line, and we were talking about your colleges. But the biggest regret for us as a school would be if someone had the chance to play at the next level, but the grades held them back. And that's really what we're trying to avoid here.
And that's happened in the past.
Right.
So
it's happened everywhere.
What we try to do is really expose our kids who are getting recruited, and try to embrace that and make sure that the kids are aware of that. And sometimes when we do have college recruiters come in, we ask if we can bring in an underclassman to sit in so they can see the process, so they can understand, this is serious, not just us, this is the actual college recruiter saying this.
And I think that's a great idea to bring those younger ones in
so
they can see that.
It doesn't happen often, but some of the kids that we know that really can excel, hey, you have the potential to be a D1, D2 athlete. You have to do better. And the common theme that comes up all the time with a lot of our seniors who didn't perform the way they should have, I wish I could go back. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to avoid that.
Right.
So I think we're seeing an upward trend. And it's just the consistency, and it's driving, the whole athletic department. And it's just a standard that you gotta, stay with and stick with. And as an athletic director, you gotta support it. So.
And I think looking towards that end, the whole college, that's why we're doing this. That's where you're headed in 14 months, 15 months. And I think that's a great place for us to stop our discussion today. So Reggie, I want to thank you for joining us, and we wish you and all the Wolverines at Watkins Mill the best of luck in finishing out this spring season and into the next academic year. And Lauren, thank you for coming over from Rockville High School to be our guest today, and we look forward to seeing you on the pitch for the Rams in August, and all the best success for your soccer season. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Cliff Elgin, and I'll see you on the next episode of Sports Insight.